Welcome to Pitmaster, an old Virginia smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. While you're enjoying this podcast, please share it out on your social media and also be sure to like the podcast on the service of your choice. This week, we will feature a gentleman that has been successful in both the Memphis BBQ network and KCBS and has started one of the more successful barbecue rub companies out there. So please welcome Heath Riles from Heath Riles BBQ. Well, Pitmaster podcast listeners, we have a real treat today. Today we have my friend Heath Riles, one of the legends of barbecue. This guy's been around. He's cooked more contests than I've even thought about. He's probably won more than I've thought about. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing good, Luke. I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We've been trying for a while, and I'm glad we could actually finally get it on the calendar. And it's hilarious that 12 minutes ago, I got a message from Mitchell Bedwell saying, when are you going to have Heath Riles on the contest? And I said, stop it. I said, you're not being funny right now. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm literally interviewing him in 12 minutes.
Yeah, Mitchell, literally, he's a good guy. He's helped a lot over the years. He really has.
Yep, he's a good dude. And, you know, I'm thinking about all the times that we've got to cook together. And I'm trying to think the first time I met you, I think it was in Galax, if I'm not mistaken, Galax, Virginia.
I think it was down in that low parking lot.
Yep.
Yep.
That contest will forever be one of my favorites, even though it probably is one of the biggest pains in the ass. But
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, you're one of our rare guests that has had success across multiple sanctioning bodies. You know, you're pretty much the king of the Memphis BBQ network, and you've had a lot of success in the KCBS network. How do you balance cooking separately for each of those? I mean, I know there's a lot of differences.
Actually, there's not a lot of differences, Luke. I mean, not to me. I cook the same product no matter if I'm cooking MBN or KCBS. The ribs, the only difference, I turn in baby backs for MBN and I turn in spares or St. Louis, of course, for KCBS. And I cook them to the same tenderness. And a lot of people go, that's too tender on baby backs. Well, no, that's perfect for MBN. So 204, 205, whatever it may be, 206, your magic number, depending on your temp you're cooking at, do the same thing for baby backs. So if you're at Memphis or you're MBN, turn them in and roll the dice because you got just as good as luck as I do.
Yeah. And that's what your consistency is probably, I would say, one of your biggest traits, I would say, in barbecue. There's not one contest that I can remember where we've been there together where you've not, at least been in the mix. And I think that consistency comes from being confident in your processes. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
Honestly, I don't know. It's built up over the years. When I first started, I was 18 years old and I'm 43 now. And I think when you take a span of over 20 years, your confidence kind of builds up. And especially when you hit that stride in your career to where it's just repetition. And cooking contests, if you're to go out running 20, 30, 40 contests a year, you kind of get repetitive in your process of what you're doing. And for me now, I'm still cooking videos at home. So I'm still touching that fire, working that fire, touching that meat. So when I go to a contest, I feel like I'm still, can hit it any day, but I'm not as good as I used to be because I'm not under the pressure I used to be. So I think being under pressure builds more confidence in myself.
And I would agree with you. I look back at our career and we didn't really get better until we went and cooked 4 weekends in a row. And I think and that's one of the key things that I tell somebody to improve their confidence is go cook 4 weekends in a row. You're going to learn a lot about your pit. You're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to learn a lot about your food. Is there any tips that you would give anybody to improve their confidence?
Honestly, practice. I think if you are out and you're cooking in the elements you're going to be cooking in, and a lot of guys, has got the cooker roll up in the garage. No, bust it out in the driveway or wherever at your buddy's house and cook in the same element with that wind hitting that firebox and try to create those, cook in the rain. You really want to humble yourself, pop up a tent and cook in the rain out there and just understand the texture of your meat. I mean, you will know what the judges is getting when you turn it in. I mean, and I feel like a lot of people, a lot of successful pit masters actually practice and hone in on the little things that matters, and that's what makes them successful. Um, I think a lot of guys want it, but they're not hungry enough yet.
And that's great advice. I wouldn't dream of even going into a season without at least cooking 3 or 4 times here at the house just to build my chops back up. You know what I mean? Get ready to go. We love to talk about successes and stuff on these podcasts, but one of the things that I like to bring up are failures. I've had several failures that have really kind of shaped my barbecue career. Do you have any of your favorite failures where you really learned something that helped you be successful going forward?
Never count yourself out to the end, and I'll tell this story a lot. I was at a Sam's Club qualifier event in my backyard in South Haven, Mississippi, and it got down to brisket turn in, and I was, let me think back, get this right. The brisket I thought was perfect. It probed perfect. Everything was good. I went to cutting it, and it had a fat vein kind of on one edge to where it wanted to break off, right? Well, my first instinct was, let's take this knife and just knock this end off and let's roll with it. Well, I done already trimmed it down to, 6 3/4 inches. I mean, it was just a perfect for the box, edge to edge bark, like I like it. And it was crumbling on me, not crumbling on the ends, but kind of just splitting in the middle. And I cut the slices and left them laying there and got upset, walked out of the trailer, and me and my wife, she was like, I don't know what you're worried about it for. I was like, I'm not even turning this shit in. And she put it in the box, and we got a perfect 180 score with it because it tightened up to where it needed to be. And we GC'd that contest. And I think I had a brisket, and it was a 180 also, by the way. So I had a perfect 180 in brisket, and I got a perfect 180 in, like, I think ribs. And then I went the next week to a contest, and I took a 180 and something else. But anyway, I wound up with 4 180s in 2 weeks in all 4 categories. And
Wow.
I thought that I would have never even got a call at the contest. So turning a failure into a success, don't count yourself out. Just put it in the box and turn it in because, hey, guess what? Them other 20 guys may have had the same bad day you had. You don't know.
That's funny that we always, especially husband and wife teams, it always seems like sometimes you just got to listen to the woman, to quote Wesley Snipes from White Men Can't Jump.
That's right.
You got to listen to the woman. Oh, man. So you're also one of the most successful guys in the barbecue business, especially, building on your competition barbecue career. Is that the most surprising thing that's come out of competition barbecue for you?
It has. I never thought when I started cooking, like I said, over 20 years ago, that I'd be where I am today. And I've had a lot of hurdles in my career, whether it be, partnering up with somebody in cooking and trying to do business with them. And they say when money gets involved, that's when you find out how people really are. Well, it's true. It is very true. And so instead of, for me, I think the key to my success is, even though I had hurdles in my life, I didn't really just blast them out and act crazy about them. I put my head to the ground, I focused, and I done what I had to do to make it work for me. And hard work paid off in the end. And again, that's some of the best advice I can give somebody. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Do your own thing. Keep your head down, grind, and it will work out.
That's right. Be you and work hard, and you should be fine.
There will never be another Luke Darnell, no matter how hard somebody tries. And that's the same way there'll never be another Heath Riles.
Correct.
No matter how hard they try. And once I did not really figure that out until in my mid-30s. And once I really set my mind to that goal, everything, I'm not going to say has been easier, but it's definitely helped.
And been more rewarding. I mean, if you look at the range of products that you have available out there right now, it's staggering. And each one has its own attributes and everything that really work with meats a lot and work with other stuff other than meats. I use a lot of your rubs when I'm teaching just cooking at home classes. And I mean, people are just blown away by the flavors. How how do you take what you learn in competition to that stage to create something for the backyard cook that's really, so delicious and flavorful?
Well, I'll tell you, Luke, um, all of our rubs, I've been very blessed for the success that my products have had. But I think competition barbecue going transition to the backyard into a business, it's all about that one bite, that one flavor that judge is going to get. And so in competition, we're all about layering flavors and we're all about, the right precise amount of rub. And let's face it, cooking to tenderness is what wins contests. All the backyard guys say fall off the bone ribs is where it's at. Well, we know we don't want that, right? Well, I just took that whole process and spun it into good eating food. I'm a big guy. I like food, Luke, and we've been to dinner before, to places. You like food too.
I love food.
And so I just took that equation and I spun it into wanting to be able to produce flavors for the everyday cook and the everyday woman and the everyday man and younger generation, whether it be, using it in an air fryer, whether you're using it on a Blackstone griddle. And I've gotten more into, I think it's opened me up to a whole new world, if that makes sense. And that's why I have 15 rubs now. And I could probably come out with a few more, but it takes me forever on that development process because I want to be sure that, a lot of these guys throw something in a bottle and, 4 months time, they've got it from start to finish. Well, not me. I send samples to friends. I tested on meats for over a year. I'm using it at a contest before you even know it. And I want to prove its worth before I launch it. And I think if you do that with your products and you test it in the backyard at home, and I cook with it on the stove, and I even go, even though we're pit masters, if you really want to taste the flavor of something, put it in the stove where there's no smoke and anything where you can just taste the rub flavor. And that will give you some of the great, you know, starting points to figure out how much you need, your layering, your back end heat. And so I just started applying all those things and transitioned competition barbecue over to the backyard for good eating food. And that's how I wound up with the portfolio that I have.
That's great, man. And that, we always look for a catchphrase, and that might be the catchphrase for this podcast, great eating food. We'll just keep it there. That's what we're all after, right? At the end of the day, competition barbecue is great, but it's all about learning how to cook and make things better for your friends and family. That's kind of how we approach it as well. Let's transition a little bit let's do some gear, because I know that you love different cookers. You always got something different back there. Let's start out in the beginning. What was one of the best investments that you made in the beginning in competition barbecue?
Well, when I first got started, I built my own smoker. I borrowed one from a friend, and we went out and had too many alcoholic beverages. And he said, if you're gonna act like that, you need to build your own grill. So I was cocky, 19, 18. I had a welder and a torch and all that, where I took all that in school. So I went and found me some 36-inch steel pipe. No, it's 32-inch, quarter-inch stick, and I built it. And it had some help with some friends. I cut the firebox off and had an older guy do me a firebox that was insulated. And so I would give anything to have that pit back. But I think your pit. But when I switched from that, and I finally bought a backwoods. And when I went to a backwoods to a cooker that really understood, and this was before the internet, this was before anything, and I started using it, I did start getting more calls and, just started understanding. So I think equipment is a big task. You need to know your equipment and just learn to cook on what you have, no matter what it is.
Absolutely. And, I've been through Gosh, I've been through so many kickers myself.
You don't want to know my list. I mean, I've still got so many cookers. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 in my shop sitting here, maybe 7 or 8 here now. I'm looking at up through here.
And probably got more on your mind about what to bring in next.
Oh, that's just in the shop. That's not at my house. There's 8 or 9 on my patio. There's 4 or 5 in the garage. And that's not including where the barbecue trailers are at. There's another, hog cookers and other cookers on those trailers. I think I got over 30. It's not including what's at the duck club. That's
See, listeners, use Heath as an example that you can never have too many cookers when you're trying to buy another cooker and your spouse doesn't want you to.
Cookers and firearms. That's it.
All right, so those are all expensive things. Do you have a purchase of $100 or less that has really impacted your barbecue life and really changed the way that you do things? Can't say Thermapen either.
That's a given. Yeah, I'm going to have to say, a decent knife. I'm going to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of, we all started out with just cheap cutlery. And to me, I've had really expensive knives, and I had knives that's well under $100. And to me, one of the best knives you can buy for the money to get started that you definitely need is a 6-inch bone-in knife from Victorinox. And I just went for $25 is about the basic cost. You're not going to beat it for the money.
And they last forever.
Forever. There's a reason why butcher shops across the country use those knives.
Absolutely. I have, I think I have 4 now at this point. There's probably more, but I collect knives like I collect cookers. They're just everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
That's awesome. And do you use a lot of technology in your cooks anymore these days? I know you used to be
I do. I use the chef's alarms. I'm still old school. I don't use some of the cooking devices. I still use a Guru every now and then, depending on the type of cooker that I use. But I definitely use like chef's alarms and stuff as a base point to go off, to check my brisket. And I don't pull everything like I have kind of set temps I go by, but I cook to feel. And so if it feels good, I pull it. If it needs to go a little bit longer, it stays on. Nothing is by pure temperature.
right. And I think that's something important for people to realize and to learn is that Chef Alarm, even in the Thermapen, the number on there is just getting you into the ballpark. Yeah. It's how it feels. It puts you in your seat.
I tell people I don't even look at the number the next morning, like on hogs and shoulders and stuff. I'm just going by feel. I turn my head. And if it's got that feel to it, I'm fine. It's time to come off. But that's something you can't teach people. I tell people that all the time in classes. It comes with years of experience and actually trying to hone your craft.
Right. And that's, that goes back to the practice conversation we had. You're not going to know that tenderness unless you do it 100 times. That's right. And I tell people all the time, you can go spend $300 on a brisket all you want, but until you can make that $100 brisket sing, you got no reason to be in there yet.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So you also, we've cooked around each other a lot, so I feel like I have insider information a little bit. Do you have any habits, rituals, or routines that you have to do at a contest?
Man, I am, yes, I do. I just have I used to have a certain repetition. I'm always listening to old music a lot of times, or like rock and roll or something like that. And I just have a certain time my meat comes out, a certain time it gets injected. I'm very minute when it comes to trying to keep my same process. I want my chicken in brine by noon or by 3:00 at the latest on Friday. I want it in brine. I want my brisket injected and my pork injected by 3:00. So I just, little things like that. And I'm always going to drink. I'm never going to drink alcohol on when I'm cooking on Friday night till Saturday. I'll wait till after I'm going and maybe have a mimosa or something, but I've gotten where I don't drink anymore like that. I think my skills got a lot better, and I started winning a lot more. And I drink these mango pineapple or something V8 little energy drinks. I'm hooked on them, and I drink them every morning, and that's kind of like my ritual thing. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's a number one thing that whenever I'm teaching somebody and you see them at a contest on Friday night all loaded up, you're like, that ain't going to work, bro.
unless you're Tim Shear or maybe Brad. I mean, I haven't seen it work out with too many people. I'll just be honest. I have not worked out with too many people.
I'm one of those people it does not work out for. So Kim has strict rules on my consumption Friday night. I'm allowed 3 drinks and that's it.
Yep.
And I'm not allowed to cheat it and get a big gulp or anything like that.
That's right.
Yep. But 3 and that's the limit. And I stick to it because, like you, I saw my scores go up whenever I quit.
That's right. You can celebrate the next day. I mean, and you're not going to have a reason to celebrate if you throw it all down the drain the night before.
Right. What would you say is the biggest turning point in your life as a pitmaster? What's the one event that really set you on your way competition-wise?
Well, there's really 2. I think it was a confidence builder for me when I was in Galax, Virginia, and I think you were there when I granted the MBN and I reserved the KCBS.
Yep.
And I told myself that I said, I'm going to grand 2. I'm going to do it. And I went and I practiced, and that was in July. And in April, I done it at South Haven Springfest in my backyard. And I did not final in hog. I did not final in shoulder. And I had done cleaned everything up, broke down the tent, rolled up the awning when they brought a final sign around for rib. And I had 4 slabs left in the cooler and was about to give them away. And
wow.
I rolled the cooker out, put a fire back in a small one, to glaze the ribs over because they hadn't been glazed yet. And rolled an awning back out, and I GC'd both of those that day and had 2 180s on the KCBS side. And there was a lot of teams there, including Johnny Trigg, I think, was there. And Patrick Banks was running pretty hard at that time, and several other teams. They were all in the top 5 at KCBS. And to walk away with 2 180s and grand both of them, it was a good day. I think it was 70-something KCBS and maybe like 50-something MBN there that day. So that was a kind of a turning point in my career for me. It kind of, I'm not going to say plateaued me, but really helped me boost my confidence.
Sure. And pulling both of those off in the same day is a monumental task, especially from a work perspective. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. And I mean, that's where having a solid team behind you really helps.
Yeah, it does. And I tried to go to Murfreesboro and do it again the next year. And I got 3rd in KCBS and I GC'd the MBN. And then the year before last, I GC'd them again in Murfreesboro, both of them. And that was a good deal that day. Actually, Darren walked up and told me that was a hell of a deal. And so to get a compliment from the GOAT like that, it felt good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And Murfreesboro is one of those contests that I think everybody should try and go do once if they can. It really is a fantastic contest, and the Mills family just does such a great job.
They do. They do a fantastic job. Hospitality bar none.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you're a field cook. How do you relate to those gut feelings when you're cooking? Like when something just gnawing at you and you feel like you got to do something, but it ain't quite time to do it. How do you process that?
Well, I usually go do it. and sometimes it's been spot on, the gut feeling, and sometimes I've been off on that gut feeling and something not be done yet or where it needed to be, or glad I checked it when I did kind of situations, something needed to be wrapped a little sooner. It was getting too dark. And that all's got to do with the way the wind's blowing or the way the air is that day or, barometric pressure. A lot goes into all this, the science end of it, that a lot of people don't realize.
Right. There's so many things, the barometric pressure, the elevation.
Oh,
Um,
that's you go to Virginia to cook where where y'all are at. You better put your stuff on a little bit earlier up there, like a whole hog. It took me a couple of years to figure that out because it
yeah,
needs a little more time to cook up there.
yep. And then you roll down into the mountains, it's going to be different. You go out by the ocean, it's going to be a lot different. I
Yep,
don't think people really factor that in enough.
they don't. And but the good cooks that figure that out, they're the ones that can go coast to coast and get a call.
Right, and I think that's also a pretty good measurement of success is being able to get calls and do well, not just in your own area, but doing it all over the place. I think is and you've been able to do that.
I have. I've been very fortunate. I've actually got some really good calls at places, and I've got some calls where I thought I'd win the contest and get like sixth place with two 180s, and crap in the bed on brisket or not win the Sam's Club championship with two 180s. I've been all over the board, man. It's been a wild ride for me. Let me say that.
And that's funny to hear you say that because a lot of people, like I said, we always talk about the successes. Everyone needs to go and look at some stuff sometime and be like, wow, look how close that guy was that many times. Look how many times have they RGC'd? Like how different could that be with one thing goes a different way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still get upset that what was it 42nd, 44th pulled no 46 pulled pork out of 50 teams, and if it would have been 38th pulled pork, I would have GC'd the Sam's Club Invitational.
Oh, wow.
And that makes a man sick considering that how much effort I put into that pork box.
Exactly. What do you think is missing from competition barbecue these days?
Honestly, I think the internet has been the catch-22 for barbecue, and I'll explain myself. I think it's been great for people cutting learning curves down, and for the few of us that are willing to give back and allow people to learn, and for the people that are receptive over it. And then I think the internet has took and it's made people bullies and made people where they want to stay in their trailers or not get out or not cook a contest because they don't want to go up against somebody like, you know, that is out cooking and winning every week. And so I think if it's, like I said, the internet's been great for barbecue, but it's been good and it's been bad in my opinion. And I think it boils down to the people. Barbecue needs to, it's about food, family, friends, all that. And it needs to get back to that. You see a lot of people out here in big motorhomes and big to-dos, and I used to want all that. And now I think I'd rather hang out outside the trailer with just a pit, talk to my neighbor, you know what I mean, and the other guys, and hang out and go to dinner and not be so serious with it. Treat it like a almost like a family reunion kind of sense.
I 100% agree. It's we were going through our schedule this morning, and one of my things that my wife hates because she likes the trailer and everything's in there. I love cooking out of a pop-up. I just have a blast every time I get to do it. You're out there in the middle of everybody and running your pit and jawing back and forth with people, and I just it really. I mean, I've gone through the whole trailer thing and done that, and now I just really like being out there and mixing it up, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, but not in the pure winter time though, right?
Correct.
I was going to say, you're like me. You want to be out on that pop up in that tent and all that, and talking and carrying on when it's nice, and all the way to a nice fall day. But when it starts getting really warm, it's time to get it in the trailer.
Or really cold.
Really cold. That's right.
Do you? One of the things that we talk about on here, I don't ask this question to everybody because some people I just know they don't do it, but psychological warfare. Do you engage in any of that at a contest?
It depends on who it is. Yes and no. If we're at a contest and somebody automatically starts trash talking me, then yes, I do.
It's on.
But I don't unless somebody does it first to me. And then after that, I'm going to poke and I'm going to jab several times. But I'm not going to carry on with it. But I'm going to get me a few jabs in there that you're going to know that it's going to make you think. But But yeah, I would rather be straight up and honest. If you're competing against me and you need to borrow something, I'd rather you borrow it from me and me give it to you and lose gracefully than I had to tell you no and you beat me. I'm not that guy. I'm not. It's just a contest at the end of the day. I ain't saving nobody's life.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, 90% of barbecue cooks are that way.
So,
And, just let's help each other out. Let's cheer for each other when it goes good, console when it goes bad, and keep moving forward, I think, is the best way for all of us.
that's right. Fall forward is what I tell everybody. Fall forward.
Cool, man. Well, let's get into my favorite part of this. These are the rapid fires.
All right.
A lot of fun. I think you kind of already answered this one, but I'll ask it anyway. What do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
Them damn keyboard warriors. End of story. Right there. Somebody jumps online and because somebody's brisket didn't turn out right and they're asking questions and start bashing them. That's not the reason they got on there to ask that question. And you should not do that to someone. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it.
Everybody should write that down right now.
There's too many mean people in this world, man.
Absolutely.
Be nice.
Do you have a favorite pre, during, or post-competition meal?
Yes, I do. I love going to eat Mexican or either cold sub sandwiches somewhere after a contest, especially if it's been a hot contest. I like going to Mexican sometimes on Friday night at a contest if I can, if it allows me. But I love after the contest, if it's been hot, I want a cold sub from somewhere, like a good, a Jersey Mike's or a Jimmy John's or, a sub shop like that. And if it's cold, I want, usually we go to Mexican. That's the deal. Mexican.
Right on. Do you have a favorite present that you like to give to people?
Yes, I'd probably say my rub a lot of times. And honestly, because it's more convenient than anything, I keep extra cases in the trailer. I mean, and if somebody to say, hey, I hadn't tried this or I hadn't done that. And you know how it is getting that warm, fuzzy feeling from somebody. And I'd rather help somebody than I had turn a cold cheek to them.
Right on, right on. What if you could have a giant billboard anywhere with anything on it, getting a message out to millions? What would it say and why?
I would think be nice. You never know what someone's going through.
I agree.
Keep it simple. You don't know somebody's struggles, their what's going on in their life, and I think that if people would just be nice, I know this is a rapid fire question, but I'll tell you this: I left my house the other day, and it's about 5 or 6 miles to town to the little local Piggly Wiggly, right? And do you know that I waved at just about everybody, just on the steering wheel, just waving, and out of hundreds of cars, 3 people waved back. 3. And when you go, and I've done got big around going to the lunch to where the old cafe where all the old guys go to eat, and where all the old heads of the donut shop stopping by, the gun shop where they all sit around because they're there for a reason. They made their life doing that and being nice and not being that way to people. And I think the generations that we got into these days, people are just not seeing that. And everybody's into their phone looking up. And I'm the same way, and I'm sure you are too. You sit down at dinner, you and your wife, you order something. What's the first thing you do after that? 9 times out of 10, I bet you check your damn phone. And I think communicating to people and being nice and just not being rude to people, the world could use more of that.
That's funny you bring that up. One of the things that Kim and I do at dinner a lot of times when we go with other people is we'll make everybody stack their phone in the middle of the table.
I think that's a great idea.
First person that grabs it's got to pay.
You know what? I need to start that tradition right there. I do. But we play credit card roulette a lot with my friends.
But I've found that if you put those phones in the middle of the table and people can't get on them, and I'm guilty of it too, like we all are, but it just makes for such a better experience, and there's actually a consequence to it. And, and I think that's just, we haven't done it in a while, but of course, who's gone out to dinner with people in a while? But hopefully we can get back to all of that soon. So, last question, and This is one of my favorites, man. What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love? Something that's just bonkers.
Man, I really can't answer this on film. I don't know. I don't know. Absolutely love him. I don't know. I don't really have any weird. I don't know. That's a great question. You got me puzzled there. So,
I mean, everybody knows mine. I like to send underwear to guys from my favorite underwear company. That's odd.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
I mean, I'm bad about. I guess there is one thing that I'm bad about shipping packages to people, and I put on there, the Catalina wine mixer. I mean, I'm terrible. Like if I send you some rub, somebody hits me up, and I'm bad about putting Catalina wine mixer or putting some kind of crazy name on it with your name on packages. Now I'm weird about that, and there's no telling what it's going to say. Now I ain't going to say what all I've said on here to people, but let's just say it's.
See, that's a perfect.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy sometimes.
That's a perfect answer, man. That's exactly. That's perfect.
But underwear to somebody,
yeah, it's weird. You never know, man. One might be showing up soon.
Well, that's weird. I mean, make sure they're thongs. I like them. Speedos at least.
Speedos at least.
Speedos at least.
Well, Heath, is there any sponsors you want to recognize or tell people where to find you online?
Yeah, you can find me at Heath Riles BBQ, and that's, at Heath Riles BBQ, and that's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. And as old girl said, you can catch me outside. I'm always outside cooking and grilling something. That's going to be my new thing. And as far as sponsors go, I work with a lot of good companies like Traeger and Deep South Smokers and Old Hickory Pits and Golden's Cast Iron and Royal Oak Charcoal. And, I've worked some great meat sponsors over the years. Kevin Green's a butcher shop has just been incredible to me. And I mean, has some of the best beef and pork and meat in the country. I mean, phenomenal guys. And I think at the end of the day, just the whole organization of barbecue has been great. And I hope that everybody sees that if you put your heart and passion into something, whether it's barbecue or something else, that 9 times out of 10, it turns out really good for you. And so don't let anybody discourage you or misguide you from your dreams or your focus, because you can accomplish them if you want to. Don't let anybody hold you back from it.
That's great advice from one of the masters out there. So Heath, thanks a lot, man. It's been great having you on here.
Thank you, Luke. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and to share it out with your friends. Also be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke TikTok as well. Old Virginia Smoke, one word. That's all you have to search for. It's hilarious. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022.